What's going on, everyone? I'm Josh High. We've got Coach Dave in the building, and we're really excited to bring to you guys two rock stars. Here in a moment, we're going to introduce John and Charles, but I tell people all the time that there's a lot of value in understanding where someone was, whether it's 6 months ago, 12 months ago, what actions they took in order to get where they are in their business. So without further ado, I'd love for Charles and John to come on. And then we'll start to talk through really what that transition has looked like for them. And again, some of the key action items that they had implemented in order to see some of the success. So do we happen to have them on here? What's going on, guys?
Hey guys. Hey Josh.
Guys.
Hey Coach.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man, we're excited to have you guys on here. I know you guys are seeing a lot of success right now in your business, and I'm really excited to talk about that. Now, before we talk about that, let's go back. How long ago did you guys jump into small group? That was it like 8 or 9 months ago? Has it been that long already?
It was January.
End of January. Yep.
Yeah, geez. So 10 months at this point. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about January. What did the business look like then?
I think it's a bit of a hot mess. Honestly, we were a bit scattered. We were jumping around different marketing channels. We were, really trying to figure out, hey, does this, even work? Are we cut out for this? Should we just go back to kind of what we were comfortable with? And just a lot of back and forth, shiny object syndrome. We weren't committed and staying true to one specific, whether it was a marketing channel or acquisitions, and just a bit all over the place, and just a lot of frustration, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's even go back to like you guys making the decision, right? You came out to the workshop, and then you had decided, that you wanted to help, or you wanted us to help you implement a lot of the frameworks, the copy and paste systems, processes, all those types of things. Like, what kind of led into your decision to jump into that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I can jump in here. It's actually funny because when we were in the car driving down there, we were expecting to just be there for the 2-day. And I remember talking to Charles and being like, listen, man, whatever they say, we're not signing up, man. Like, we have enough stuff already on our plate to do. Like, there's no way we can sign up for anything beyond just this 2-day. And it was literally after the first day that we went back to the hotel room. And I told Charles, listen, man, we can't afford not to take these guys on. Like, we need their help, and there's no way we can walk out of here. And, I still remember Charles' jaw kind of hit the floor because he's more the big dreamer. He's the visionary. And he was like, you're saying this? Like, I thought I was going to have to convince you, but now it's the other way around. But yeah, after just hearing all the work that you guys have done and hearing even some of the past students that were there for their second time or third time, whatever their consecutive visit there, just to regain more of some of that knowledge that you guys provide in that 2-day. And just talking with some of the other students and hearing your guys' backstory and how you guys can help us, I was just sold. I was like, this is it. We gotta take them on for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that it's obviously worked out very well for you guys. So let's talk about, you jump into the program. Mm-hmm. What was the first areas of emphasis that you guys really focused on to really move the needle and take that next step?
Sure. I'll jump in again here. So one of the best things that we took away from this was that, when we got first started, this is before we met up with you guys in January, we basically spent 7 months learning about all the different things that we did not want to do. And we started all the ways that most people do, which is, door knocking, cold calling, a lot of outbound, marketing. And we hated it. I was just like, man, what have I done? Like, this is the worst decision. I hate all the people, the sellers, screaming in my face and swearing at me and telling me to screw off and get off their property and all this stuff. And so it wasn't until about 2 months before we met up with you guys that we started getting really interested in the inbound marketing channels. We started reading and signed up for an SEO program, and we built out our website and started looking into that. And we knew that was kind of a long play, but we weren't sure how to make today money. And so when we met up with you guys in January, you guys, first of all, kind of confirmed with us that, like, no, if you guys don't want to do outbound, like, that's okay. Like, you guys can do any sort of plan or vision that you guys have for your business. And you guys were here to help us with that vision. And then you guys helped us with implementing some PPL to just get that immediate kind of those hot leads onto our table, like right away, until that PPC and until that SEO kind of really kicks in and starts to bring us those leads organically.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So real emphasis on the marketing components. But then even after you dial this in, so we confirm PPL is the thing, right? These inbound channels, we don't have to do outbound. What else other than really dialing in the marketing and having a clear marketing plan? What else did you guys focus on in order to take that next step?
I think a big component of that was the fact that every part of this business can be systematized and processes can be put in place. John and I are fellow, civil engineers. Josh, I think we shared that at the
Oh yeah.
two-day when we met up, and it was so frustrating just seeing a lot of wholesalers, a lot of investors are kind of one-man shows or just really sloppy, and they're just in this constant state of hustle. And I was worried, and I felt that was going to be our future if we do this. And just coming to the two-day and being able to see and through coaching that everything that we want to do, we can cherry pick the marketing channels we want to use. We can lean on the SOPs that are already in place. We can customize and use that kind of as just a template for how we ultimately want to do business.
Mhm.
And kind of working backwards from our end goals, and just starting to chip away and put those in place, one by one. And I think as we, quarter one, just coming out of the two-day and getting signed up, we had a lot of success with acquisitions, and we're like, all right, this is awesome. We got a few deals under our belt here, and let's go. And then transaction coordination issues came up, and then, oh shoot, now we got all these properties, and we hadn't really built out the dispo side, so we ended up taking them on for wholesales or flips, and now we run into project management and rehab problems. So we kept creating new problems along the way, but it also
Which is
forced
beautiful.
us. It is
Yeah.
beautiful, yeah, because
Yeah.
it forces us to then it's do or die at that point to build the systems and realize, hey, this is not something I want to continue doing, and we're going to nip in the bud and figure out what we have to pivot and shift to now, so we don't have those issues again, and can grow and scale at the end of the day.
So you mentioned a couple things I'm going to go back to here in a moment. So I'm going to mention them right now just to make sure I don't forget. So I'm going to talk about confidence and outcomes, which is really predictability, right? And you talked about how reverse engineering. So like we talk about the engineer mind that you guys have. Obviously, my degree's in civil engineering as well, but how that applies to the business to create confidence and outcomes, to create the predictable outcomes that we're looking for in business in general, right? I'll talk about that here in a moment. But let's go back to the point where you say, okay, quarter one, we started to lock up a lot of deals. Okay. So deal flow in January at that point in time, what did that look like for you guys?
You're talking about
Non-existent.
before we met up with you
Yeah.
guys? It was
Yeah,
non-existent.
before us.
Non-existent.
Yep.
Yeah, non-existent. We literally spent 7 months spinning our wheels and didn't land a single thing. And that's part of the reason why after the two-day, halfway through, I told Charles, like, man, we can't just keep trying to spin our wheels here. Like, we have to sign up for these guys, because if we don't sign up, like, we're not going to have any outcomes. So we spent 7 months of nothing. And then in our first 90 days, with your guys' help, we locked in, $250,000 in projected profit, which just blew our initial goal like out of the water. I think our initial goal was something around, we were trying to stay very conservative and humble, and we're like, hey, let's just try to make 25,000 a month. And that 25,000 just 10x in a single quarter. So it was just awesome.
Man, that is crazy. So right out the gate, you start pumping out some deal flow, right? So what's deal flow look like today for you guys? Whether it's last month, last quarter, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so I would say the first 2 quarters we like stockpiled a whole bunch of properties, and like Charles said, we still hadn't really solidified that dispo part yet. And so that's something that we're still working on. But since we took on a lot of these projects more like flips, Charles saw that a lot of his time was being spent like on the rehab side of things, where a lot of his experience comes into play. And so we got together and said, look, we can't keep spending all this time on the rehabs. Like, we need to hire somebody. And so Charles and I had a mutual friend named Peter, who was just like this amazing guy, had a ton of experience with rehabs, and was killing it in the short-term rental game, and was looking for something to kind of challenge him. And so we're like, okay, great, let's bring him on. And so Peter has now just been flying through the rehabs, which created a new problem for us. Now we needed to create money faster to keep up with how quickly he's moving to the rehabs, which is a good problem to have, but it was a new problem. And so now our deal flow has shifted a little bit. We're trying to tighten up the amount of time that we're holding onto these properties. And I would say that still the majority of our deals are either very quick wholesales, like just fresh paint and new floors, or we're taking them on as full flips. We are still trying to build out that dispo system so that we can get more confident with the wholesales.
Dang. So are you guys, would you say deal flow went from non-existent? Are you like 5 a month, 10 a month, 15 a month?
No. So our first quarter was like really hot like that. It was like between 3 and 5, like each month between January and March. And then now we've kind of stabilized out to somewhere around 3 a month is kind of our sweet spot. But I think, as you mentioned in one of the descriptions earlier, we're okay with doing that smaller volume just because we do hit kind of a nicer expected net profit on most of our flips.
Yeah. I was going to say, what is the average profit per deal?
So we've had a bunch of home runs, which were 6-digit flips, which were amazing. But our average is 60
Let's
grand.
go. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Geez, so you guys, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like you guys are going to be approaching the 800 to $1 million mark in the first real year of, is that accurate?
That's the hope
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Geez, man. Congratulations. That is huge.
Thanks, guys.
So let's go back to quarter one. Lots of deal flow, right? You solve one problem, what creates another problem. That's business, obviously, right? We all run into that. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you guys if you could describe for, just me or anyone on the call here, like what was it like running into those challenges as you were growing this, approaching your goal, and then also while working alongside with our team? Can you just kind of describe what that looked like?
Yeah, I could jump in. In terms of the problems, yeah, every step along the way, you could do enough planning ahead of time, but it's not really until you're in the thick of it where it's like, oh man, I really have to make this work. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that we've had as a benefit from coaching and the coaches we've had is when we've encountered a problem and, we'll sit, and at the time it was, well, hey, Charles is managing these rehabs and he's also doing the acquisitions, and John's stretched super thin, and we're sitting there talking with Dave and he's just sitting, waiting for us to stop, complaining. And he's like, guys, you just need to hire someone. And we wanted to come up with all these, and, he was just sitting there, just this cool cat, just super chill. And he's like, you guys you need to hire someone. And it was so difficult for us to just be like, can we do this? Can we take on that responsibility? And I think from John and I, our perspective, it's not something we take lightly. It's not, hey, we're going to bring somebody on and, if it doesn't work out, we're just let them go. And it is, and then just kind of drop them. It's like, no, we have a commitment and that's going to light a fire under us. But we have to believe in ourselves and believe in the process and, get out of our comfort zone and say like, yeah, the only way we're going to get out of these problems really is to get ahead of them and hire and delegate and build systems and processes and have that accountability in place so that we can ultimately run this like a business and not a hustle. I tell John all the time that, in the realm of real estate or in the world of real estate, I feel like there's so many different aspects. And when you're first starting out, you have to wear all the different hats. And if I'd summarize and say like, hey, there are these, 10 fictitious hats that you wear in real estate, at the end of the day, I know personally, I only want to wear like 2 of those hats. There's only 2 really important aspects of the game that I enjoy, but I have to do those other 8 because it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
But if I said, well, let me just kind of suck it up, we'll build the systems, we'll really understand it and delegate those out and put the right person in the right seat to accomplish those tasks. And that, maybe for them, that is something that is, and obviously that's the goal, that is something that they're actually interested in doing. Well, then everybody is operating at, maximum efficiency because they're the right person in the right seat, doing the right task, and ultimately, accomplishing the big picture goal. So that was cool to see. We're still in that phase. We're still doing a lot of that system building and the processes. And John and I have had to, carve out and fix these spots in our calendars that say, system building. And we try really, really hard to preserve those and protect those because we know if we if we don't honor those times and those commitments, then we're just going to keep getting stuck in that hamster wheel, and we're not going to get out of it. But it's hard when you have all these fires going on, and like, all right, let's put that on pause. Let's go and work on the spreadsheet for a little bit. And you're like, oh man, like just have other stuff going on. But that's kind of just where we're at, and we're working every day to try to get ahead of it.
Nice, man. So Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience working with John and Charles, and you know, like maybe even talk through some, if you guys are cool with this, talking through maybe a challenge or two that you guys are facing right now, and really what the game plan is.
Absolutely.
Sure. I want to set the bar straight. I didn't just tell them to go hire somebody. There's that different aspects in their business. They had a steady deal flow going for a couple of months. They had a steady projected profit set out for a couple of months as well. And they even had a CFO that basically explained to them, like, hey, we have room for growth. But in general, whenever we started meeting, I truly believe that they kind of lost focus after having such a great quarter, because you guys were kind of in a cycle. It's going well. We're making money. The business is doing well. But at certain times, you guys hopped on, and I noticed that it was a lot of frustration. So the biggest thing, and I believe that really helped you guys, besides just meeting up with me, was the level 10 meetings that you guys started implementing consistently. So guys, can you guys maybe explain to everybody on here, like how important that is and how beneficial it was for you guys?
Yeah, that has been one of the biggest things that have definitely helped propel us in continued positive direction here. For those that don't know, like our level 10s are basically like when we just vent to each other about all of our frustrations with each other, with a business. And we've carved out a time every Friday to do that. And, you know, business is very much like a marriage. And if your spouse is constantly leaving like dirty dishes in the sink and you never speak up about it, it can start to build that resentment. And it's the same thing in business, right? And so having that kind of safe space to say, hey, we're both in this together. We both want to succeed. So none of this is personal. This is just, these are the things that are bothering me, or these are the holes in the business that I'm seeing, or these are the frustrations that I'm feeling, have just removed any sort of room for resentment to start building up, or any sort of frustration with each other. And instead, it's become this positive space where we say, all right, we've laid out all the things that are bothering us. How do we focus on how do we fix them, right? Like, what are the positives that we want to come out of this? And so I would say definitely just even in keeping us on the same page and making sure that we're both still, you know, happy with the decision that we've made to start this business, and all of that stuff has been just huge in setting the tone for, you know, week after week, our success and kind of what we want to work towards.
Yeah. So you mentioned some accountability, right? And having some of the tough conversations that are necessary. But let's talk about how we even get to that accountability. And this is something I was talking about earlier. With the engineering minds that we have, we like to have the predictability, right? The predictable outcomes, that, you know, having confidence in outcomes. So in order to do that, you know, one thing that you guys do every single quarter when you sit down with Dave is you start to create a quarterly plan, right? You say, okay, here's the goal, right? And then let's go and reverse engineer the goal. And when we reverse engineer the goal, it basically will dial in to the number of deals we got to land every single month and every single week, the total offers we have to make every month and every week, and the total leads that we have to generate, right? So now we have clear, accountable metrics for acquisitions. And then we have clear, accountable metrics for marketing. And then also with the help of your coach, Dave, right? You go in and you say, okay, I've got to create, let's just say it's 200 leads per week based on what this calculator gave us. Well, what marketing channels are going to make up for those leads? And then we go and create a customized game plan around the marketing, you know, for whatever your guys' goal is, right? But I think it's so many people, to your guys' point, it's like just hustling. They're just shooting off the hip. They're just grinding. They're just doing activities, but they don't know if those activities are actually moving the needle or not. Mm-hmm. They just know, I got to be on the phones. Okay, well, are we calling the right people? Well, I got to be on the phones. Okay, well, are we making offers to the people that we're on the phone with, right? I got to be on the phones. Are we landing the deals? Are we creating the predictable outcomes? How do we know what targets we even have from a process call, from an offer call, from a deal perspective to lead to the end goal, the end result? And are we even doing right marketing and spending enough in marketing to even drive that? So I thought it was really cool that you brought that up. So being able to reverse engineer that. to have the predictable outcome. And then accountability comes from that, right? So now we know the clear outcomes that we need to have. And then once you guys commit to that, to each other, then it's much easier to have those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how simple business really is, but simple doesn't really mean easy, right? Simple just means that you can break it down. And that reverse engineering, like you said, even just down to okay, how many dollars do we need to spend in marketing so that we can get X number of leads, because our conversion rate is this, and with that conversion rate, we'll make this amount of money and we'll cover. So it's just like you said, reverse engineering that formula. It's not rocket science, but sometimes our emotions get the best of us and we get nervous and scared about the future. And that fear is what causes us to kind of break down and freeze up instead of just seeing the whole picture and how we can make it as simple as possible.
Yeah. No, well said. Well put there for sure. It's simple, but not easy at all. So let's leave it off with this, guys. If you have one piece of advice for someone who is similar shoes to where you were back in January, like what piece of advice would you give them?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is just a level of humility to come into it and know that while you may have the drive, you may have some level of experience, to just put yourself under the authority of somebody else, or the mentorship or guidance or coaching of somebody else, to help guide you along. That in itself goes a long way. Just I think that the level of pride I had, and I know this was a real struggle for me early on, I was like, man, I got this degree. I worked my butt off in school. I'm seeing all these guys that are just out there hustling. I feel like I should be so much smarter with them. Why am I struggling so much? And just getting out of my own head and just kind of humbling myself and realizing, like, yeah, I may have some idea, or I may have some goal that I'm trying to achieve or whatever, but at the same time, somebody else out there has done this, has the answers, can shave so much time off of my learning curve here. Why spin my wheels for no reason? And what's been great is just us being able to reverse engineer really how we want our business run. You don't have to go in and be on the phones all day cold calling. You don't have to be texting. You can choose what you want your business to look like, come up with the goals and the KPIs and everything you need to get there, and then just start hitting the ground running. But it was very, very difficult early on, I think, doing that without some sort of guidance and hand holding along the way.
Yeah, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
And there's even a component to this concept that we call be, do, have, right? Like, in order to have the results, to have the success that we want, we have to identify the person we have to become and do the things that person does, right? So when I do those things, I become that individual, then I can have the things that individual has. But there's even a component, if we want to have things that we've never had before, or get results and go places we've never gone before, we have to be willing to do things that we've never done before. And there's even a component to this of, like, we don't know what we don't know at times.
Yeah.
So I love that advice. I think that's, you hit the nail on the head there. So what else would you guys have to say?
Sure.
Johnny,
I'll jump in here. Yeah, I'll say, guys, for anyone that's on the fence or thinking about joining or thinking about any sort of mentorship like this, like, coaching is real, guys. I was in that same boat, that I thought, like, a lot of this stuff is just kind of like hoopla, and truly not all coaches are the same. But if you guys are specifically thinking about Josh and Tiff and her team, Josh and Tiff and her team are the real deal. From their mentorship, business success aside, it forced me to kind of look inwardly, and I knew that I was struggling with a lot of mental health issues, and I signed up with a life coach, and my wife and I just recently signed up for a personal trainer as well.
Nice.
Because we knew that in order to, like you said, take it to the next level, you got to do things that you've never done before, and sometimes you need some help to get you there. And so whether it's business, personal, mental health, whatever it may be, like, not all coaches are the same. Do your research, make sure you vet them out. But a coach is worth their weight in gold. Don't look at the upfront cost, but instead look at the investment that you're going to get out of that. We spent 7 months spinning our wheels and didn't make a single deal. And after signing up with Josh and Tiff, we crushed all of our goals within the first 3 months, and we're still going strong. And so for anyone, like I said, that is thinking about it, don't think and just do it, man. Just take that plunge, jump out the plane, and you'll figure it out on the way down.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the kind words, honestly, from both you guys. And I appreciate you all hopping on and taking time out of your day to really share kind of the lessons learned, the experiences and all that stuff. I think it's very important for anyone that, again, that's, trying to figure out what is it that I'm going to do next, and identifying where you guys were, what you did in order to get to where you are. I think it's valuable for anyone and everyone that's listening to the call. So much appreciated for your guys' time. And for everyone watching, I appreciate you guys all taking time out of your day to tune in. John, Charles, I appreciate y'all hopping on, and thank you so much for everyone watching this. And then actually in 2 weeks, I think we'll be doing our next one. So we're going to have a continuous rhythm here. So if you guys want to continue to see some of the success from people, winning at a high level and hearing their success stories, then continue to tune in. With that being said, appreciate you guys. We'll see you later.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, guys.